And I say it's begin believing in yourself, because until you believe in yourself, you're never going to make forward progress,
Mm.
because your life is your own. It's not someone else to determine which way that you're going. And it's amazing to me the power that we allow other people's opinions and ideas to take root and really stall us out.
Mm.
And I tell the story of a bad boss that I had. And he was constantly making it known that he thought my position was not valuable. One evening, I got an email from him that basically said, "Hey, I think your skills must have come from a box of Fruit Loops because what you're doing sucks."
Oh, wow.
And I don't say this to brag, but at the time, I had a bunch of industry awards, but yet his words were what I focused on.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another Knowledge Bomb episode of Lead to Greatness, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential and together change the world. If this is your first time joining us, please consider subscribing and hit that notification bell and hit that like button. This will be greatly appreciated in helping getting out this content to great leaders and great individuals like yourself. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Chellie Phillips. Chellie is a sweet tea sipping, sassy Southerner with a passion for helping dynamic, driven, career-minded professionals write their own success story. She's a coach, corporate trainer, and motivational speaker, as well as an author of 2 award-winning books, When in Doubt, Delete It, and also Get Noticed, Get Hired. Chellie is on a mission to help others tune in to what makes them great, pack it properly, and use their existing skill set to find the path to their highest potential. Please help me welcome Chellie with Becoming a Personal Brand like Apple. This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
That's really how I got into the role and doing coaching and teaching personal branding, because that really is the important piece, is getting our story out there so that people resonate with who we are, what matters to us, what, like what we're looking for out of life. Because if you can match your vision with, say, a career or say some other opportunity, it's going to align much better. You're going to be happier. You're going to enjoy what you're doing. And really building that brand is really telling your story. It tells your experience. It tells where you've come from. It tells where you want to go. And so it's a lot like building a story, like when I was in the newspaper. You're telling the who, what, when, where, and why. And so instead of it being about someone else or their role, you're telling it about yourself.
Wow, glad you're doing this and you're helping people define themselves and defining purpose and that brand within themselves. Your credentials, I mean, everything that you do, I mean, you're a coach, you're an entrepreneur, and you're a leader. What is the greatest leadership lesson you ever learned?
So I think that was just to learn that leaders have to be adaptable.
Mm.
And then the other thing is that it's not your team's duty to conform to you.
Mm.
It's really your duty as that leader to conform to them and learn what their style is and how you can best motivate and how you can best draw out the best performance of them. If I treated everyone on my team the same way, um, I'd probably have 2 of them doing what I wanted to do and a couple others that were going off in left field somewhere, and another one that was sitting there thinking, "Oh, she doesn't care about me. She's not doing what I need to do," because they're all at different stages in their life as well. And, we bring to the table what our life experiences are and what our last boss treated us as and what our favorite teacher taught us or what our pastor taught us or what our Sunday school teacher brought to the table. All of that impacts how we respond to leaders. And so it's my job, if I'm leading that team, to understand that it's not my way or the highway. My job is to bring that group together and be adaptable and make things happen in a way that has a positive outcome.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. And not only are you a leader, you are an author of 2 award winning books. One book, When in Doubt, Delete It. And the other book is Get Noticed, Get Hired. So you have these 2 books. I want to talk about When in Doubt, Delete It. What inspired you to write this book and why?
So that book was my first one that I did, and It became, so I told you I had the background in journalism.
Mhm.
And as a journalist, we write our stories and we turn them into our editor.
Mm.
And you get it back and it looks like it's covered by the blood of a small animal that's been killed because it's got all these red marks all over it. Or kind of like that essay that you got back in college and the
Right.
teacher just, red ink everywhere. And so when you first look at it, you go, oh my God, what's happened? Like they don't like anything I've done, but what you realize is that the edits that
Mm,
come with that paper or that article or whatever are meant to make that story much stronger. And
mm.
so in journalism or any kind of editing, you use edit marks. And when in doubt, delete it takes 5 of those edit marks and says, what if we could apply those to life?
Mm.
So in the case of that book, it's
Wow.
when in doubt, delete it. One of them is the delete mark. There's some things that we need to delete from life. The other one is a move mark. There's things that we need to move towards or away from. The other is paragraph mark, which is the begin. There's things that we need to begin.
Oh my God.
There's things that we need to insert. And then there's a little known edit. It's called stet. And when your editor goes through your thing and makes changes and then has a second thought and goes back and goes, nope, you were right originally. I like the way you told it. They mark through it and write the word stet above it. And so I use that as remaining authentic to yourself. And
Mm.
so the book is broke down into those 5 categories of all these things that we could do to add more joy, clarity, and success to our personal life and to our careers.
Oh my goodness. Those are some knowledge bombs. I want you to do this. I want you, if you can take one of those five and kind of identify it or unpack, what does that look like?
So I'll tell you a fun story from When in Doubt, Delete It. And it's based around the begin mark. So begin. And I say it's begin believing in yourself because until you believe in yourself, you're never going to make forward progress
Mm,
because your life is your own. It's not someone else to determine which way that you're going. And it's amazing to me the power that we allow other people's opinions and ideas to take root and really stall us out.
mm.
And I tell the story of a bad boss that I had, and he was constantly making it known that he thought my position was not valuable. One evening, I got an email from him that basically said, "Hey, I think your skills must have come from a box of Fruit Loops because what you're doing sucks."
Oh, wow.
And I don't say this to brag, but at the time, I had a bunch of industry awards, but yet his words were what I focused on.
Mm,
It wasn't the fact that I had all of this experience, or it wasn't the fact that I was able to call up colleagues from around the country and go, "Would you believe what an idiot I am?" You know, it just resonated, and it got to where you'd pull in the parking lot and you were just like just miserable, like I don't want to get out today. I don't want to have to go in there and do it.
mm,
But I say all that to say that was also the kick in the pants that I needed to move forward.
mm,
That it had kind of built up, and that was kind of the icing on the cake, so to speak, when it was like, okay, you're either going to stay here and be miserable, or you're going to find your next opportunity and move on.
mm.
And that's actually what led to moving on, led to the books being written and developing my own coaching program and everything else. Because if not, I would have just been solely focused on that one job, just getting through the day and everything else. And so while it was awful and why I would never want anyone to get an email like that from their boss, it was the kick in the pants that I needed to move on to chapter 2, chapter 3, and see what was going to happen in life.
Wow, that's amazing. That's an amazing story to move on from that because there's a lot of people that's stuck right now. They're still stuck and they're stuck in the position based on what someone said. I want you to speak to that individual and give them some encouraging words. And the reason why I want you to do that because you were able to pull out of that stuck mud. And I believe if you're able to pull yourself out, you can help somebody else get out. So, would you mind sharing with the Lead to Greatness, giving them some encouragement and maybe some advice?
Yeah, sure. The thing is, it's important who you listen to.
Mm,
So if you've got one voice that is constantly negative, you know, maybe think about why are you spending so much time with them? So I know in a work situation, you may be stuck with a supervisor or whatever that you can't, but make sure that you've got that balance. Find that other voice to sit there and be that sounding board with you, whether it's, someone from your church or someone from your peer group, or whether it's someone, maybe it's a random stranger at the coffee shop, who knows what it is, but find that other voice that you can have that kind of counters that.
Wow.
And then the other thing is, I was in that job for 20 years when it happened.
Wow.
And so that was one of those things where I've got all this invested. I've got retirement thinking about, like I'm getting on up there in age. Do I want to make these changes? And so the thing that I would really encourage people is you can make that change and it be super successful no matter what stage of life that you're in. So many people stay in a position because they feel like I've got to make the house payment, I got to make the kids' college payment, I got to do these kind of things. And they wait until college is over or the house is paid for or whatever to decide, now I want to do something that I've always wanted to do. And you think about all the years that you've wasted.
Mm.
And then especially if you're sitting there and you're getting this negative feedback and everything else, the thing that I tell people is it's not just affecting you. You leave that work and you take that negativity with you, whether you try to or not. You're going to come home and you're going to be not the greatest parent. You're going to be not the greatest spouse because in your mind, you're still replaying all the things that went wrong today for you. And maybe that makes you a little snippy, or maybe that makes you, I just want to go hide in my room for a while. And, but you're missing out on a lot of life when you focus on that negative. And so the thing I would always tell somebody when they're in this situation is to know that you are worth it and that there is a position out there that you can embrace and that someone will find your value and worth if you give them the shot.
Wow, that is a knowledge bomb. Thank you, Chellie. And I want to shift here because this is the perfect time to shift because you're saying somebody will notice you. And the second book, the second award-winning book is Get Noticed, Get Hired. I want you to talk a little bit about that book as we shift into moving from that place to the new place.
Yeah, Get Noticed, Get Hired is all about that building a brand for career success.
Uh-huh.
And the really neat thing with a career brand is that it can grow with you. So it doesn't matter if you're starting out in your career or if you've been in it for 20 years like I had been. You
Mm.
can begin building and growing it and designing it in a way that attracts the opportunities that you're seeking. And so that book totally focuses on how do I manage LinkedIn? How do I handle job sites? How do I do interviews in a way that I connect with the person and I leave them with the impression that I want to leave behind. And we walk through a lot of strategic steps in that book, that whether it's from designing a cover letter that kind of mimics the company's culture and branding and words that they use so that whoever's reading it already goes, oh, they're speaking our language, they must be one of us already.
Love it.
Or I mean, and so that book is totally designed, and it's for someone whether they are a new college grad or whether they've been working someplace 10, 15 years and they're ready to make a switch. Anybody can pick it up and find tips in there that they can use to successfully navigate their careers.
Wow, I love it. I love it. And you're constantly talking about, I hear branding, branding, branding. How can building our brand help us advance as leaders?
So I think it's even more important for leaders of an organization to have a personal brand because let's face it, when you meet somebody, what's one of the first things you do? You probably go Facebook and see who they are, or you LinkedIn and see who
Absolutely.
they are, or you Google search and see what you can find out about them. So the worst thing that you can do is the impression that you've made be something totally different that they find online.
Mm.
So it's about creating that authenticity. It's about showing up the same place, no matter whether I'm looking online for you or I'm meeting you face to face and having a conversation.
Right.
Because the one thing I'll say is that there's something out there about you. If you've been in the workforce long enough and with all the social media that's out there, people are going to find you. And say you're a personal trainer and your Facebook page or your, let's do Instagram because it's all pictures. If your Instagram pictures are nothing but nachos and beer and candy bars and whatever else, and you're marketing yourself as the idea personal trainer,
Mm.
there's a disassociation there. They're going to be like, well, this doesn't make sense. They're telling me to be healthy in this regard, but yet this is all that I see them doing.
Uh,
So are you going to trust that person with your money to help, lead you down that road to physical fitness anymore? So it's super important that what people what you want people to know about you that you control and you put that brand out there. The other thing is that it can also attract people to you. So if you're a leader and you're building a team or you're in the hiring role, you want the right people to come find you. You want those people to go, that's the kind of boss I want to work for. Or
Mm,
even if you're already inside an organization, someone who might be in a different department or something, and there's promotions available, and you want to build your team with the right people, what you're putting out there is going to attract those people to you. And, your messaging on what type of leadership you have, what kind of wins your team has, how people feel about working with you, all of that's going to help create that image for that leader.
mm.
And then, of course, it's always a great place to showcase your skills and your achievements because your next step could be out there also. The thing with leaders is that we always need to be growing and evolving because the worst thing you can do is stay still and stagnant. And so you want to keep that out there so that people know that, hey, I'm growing my skills too. I'm not just settling for this because it's worked for a couple of years. I want to continue to get better myself. And so it's a great way for you to be able to put that out there so other people recognize that too.
Wow. Awesome. Awesome. So now you have that leader. That leader become contagious and they drawing the right people to them to their team. Now, so now they have that part lined up. So the next thing is how can we create a culture of engaging employees in the workplace?
That's one of my favorite things. I get to do a lot of corporate training on that, and that's become something I'm really passionate about because, the people that we work for, we spend more time with them than we do our families. And so if you can create a culture where everyone is thriving and where you enjoy being there, I mean, those 8 hours are going to be so much better than what they would be on a place where people are just kind of trudging along. So the thing is, I think leaders should always be emulating what they desire to see in their team.
Mm,
And, you can't expect your team members to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. That show up and be part of that team, not set aside as I'm just the one, micromanaging, making sure everything happens. You want them to know that you're as much invested in what's happening and you're invested in them because you want them to succeed too. Because when your team succeeds, you succeed as a leader. And the other thing I would say is that to create that engagement, that you need to really learn your people because people you need to get to know them personally, know what makes them tick. They always say that people don't leave jobs. They leave people. So
mm,
if you have horrible managers and supervisors that are not fair across the board, or they're not engaging their people and they're not building a strong team, that's why they're gonna leave. They're not gonna leave probably because of the work, because 9 out of 10 will go on to find a position that was similar to where they're at someplace else. It's gonna be a chance to find someone different to lead me and to help me grow. The other thing, as I said, I think you should always give your people a voice because what is it that we always want? We want to feel valued and heard.
yes.
Now, that doesn't mean you say yes to everything, but it does mean you listen and you have that conversation with them and you give them that safe place to feel like that what they're thinking and what they're saying matters. And then you have to provide that clear vision for them too, because you can't lead a team in the mud. You've got to show them where you want them to go and you got to help them get there. And then finally, I'd always say is that, invest in them. You, as the leader, are the one that you've got to help them see themselves as part of the future of that organization. And
Mm,
so you've got to invest in them so that they know that you think they have the worth and the value. Because if you're spending time training and getting them new skills, they're going to feel like, hey, they want me here. I'm a part of this organization.
mm.
And when you're able to create that culture of engaged employees, that's when you're really going to see success blossom and bloom.
I love it. Those are loads of knowledge bombs. Awesome, awesome. I want to go back because you said something, and I think this is super important as well. And I think leaders miss this a lot when you said about being heard, about being heard. And one of the things I've noticed in the corporate world with teams that if they're not being heard from their next in line supervisor or the upper executive staff, if they're not being they don't feel like they're being heard, what I notice is they still gonna talk, but they're going to talk amongst each other because the person have to get it out. It's like somebody's going to hear me. My boss may not hear me, but my employer will hear me. And so now it creates this negative energy within the atmosphere. And now the morale has dropped down. And now the boss is looking confused, like, why is the morale down? I mean, I gave them the bonus, I gave them the raise, I gave them everything they asked for, and the morale is still down. I want you to speak to that leader.
So value isn't a paycheck. I mean, it's great. I think everybody should be paid what they're worth. Don't get me,
Absolutely.
I'm not saying not do that,
Absolutely.
but people don't associate feeling included or part of a team with a dollar figure. So the bonus is great. They're not going to ever turn it down. But if you really want to make a team member feel valued and like they are helping the organization succeed, you've got to give them that voice and have a real conversation with them. Because, like you said, they're having that conversation, whether it's with you or whether it's with a group of employees in the break room, or whether it's when they all go to lunch and they sit there and talk about, oh my God, my supervisor sucks. It's going to spread one way or the other. So it's much better to have it spread that, hey, I had a question and they gave me an answer. Now, I always preface that with it may not be the answer you wanted, but at least you got the question asked and you got an answer. And that's really what people want to do. To feel valued, you want to feel like someone is paying attention to you. And attention is something that can be as easy as stopping by somebody's cube and be like, "Hey, how's your day going?" Or it can be a more formal setting when you're having a evaluation or something and it's a one-on-one and you give them a chance to tell you, what do you need to succeed? How can I help you succeed? Is there training that you need? Is there information that you need? Is there a tool that you need to make the job better? Because anytime they feel like they can give input and that somebody's listening to it, that adds so much more value than $1,000 bonus could give somebody over the course of a career.
Yes.
It banks it. Like every time you do that and every time somebody feels like you're spending a little bit of your time asking them how they can succeed, or you're willing to invest in them to succeed in some kind of way, you're banking all of that. And so when you have a day that goes bad, they're not going to focus on that day that goes bad. They may gripe about it and get over it, but they're going to come back the next day and go, well, I don't have 360 bad days and only 5 good days. So we had one bad day and now I've got another 30 that are coming up that are going to be okay and awesome too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was listening to you talking. It's kind of remind me of a jar with water, right? So it's being full with water, and that bad day would be okay. Everybody thirsty, drinking water, but the jar was full. So drinking a little of that jar is still water in there. It's like keeping that tank full. And I also listening to this, and I was like, wow, this can absolutely affect an individual, a leader, brand of who they are by not listening, by not putting the individual first, by not considering the individual, by not being empathetic. I mean, these things can really affect the brand. And I want you to dig into this a little bit more with this question. Why do we need a personal brand?
So if you think about it, whether you create your brand or not, you have one
Mm,
because your brand is what people think of you when you're not in the room.
mm,
So if I walked in and said, "Hey, what do you think of Cedric?" Somebody's going to give me an answer. And if you're not standing there, it's going to be what they're really thinking about you.
yeah, mm,
So the best thing that you can do is control that brand and put out there what you want people to see and what you want to reinforce. A brand is something that will follow you no matter whether you're looking for a career, whether you want to attract people to the workforce because you're looking for a certain type of employee, or whether you're wanting to change or advance your career. It's something that you can build and it follows you because as we grow and as we evolve as leaders and as employees and we learn new skills and we become more successful at what we're doing, the brand evolves with you. And it's a
mm,
great thing, I think. If you look back at some of your earlier wins or whatever, some of the things I tell you one thing that I'd say people need to do is to make a folder of your accomplishments or track them somehow.
Wow.
I keep I'm a paper planner person still. I haven't moved totally digital. I think
Me too.
I just can't quite get away with the paper.
Same way.
And so every week in the little notes thing on my planner, I try to make a note of here's some of my wins for the week. And I have a stack of planners that go back years and years. And if you look at some of mine from my early days in the newspaper or whatever, it was like I met my deadlines this week. It wasn't like I won an award for a story. It was I just got it done and I got it done on time.
Uh,
Or, maybe it was something, later on in life that, I nailed a project and, it was this big win for the company. Or maybe it was some of my social media campaigns got X number a percentage of views for a company that I was working with or something like that. But as you track those wins, you can see your evolution and your progress as a leader and as your skills evolve. And if you're putting that out there, then other people are going to see this too. And I always say, if I'm looking for someone to work with or I'm looking for the next opportunity, is I want to see people that challenge themselves and that they continue to grow and that they continue to evolve because those are the kind of people that I want to surround myself with. So if I'm looking for my next hire, then I want that kind of person who has, not been afraid to try something and they've took this head-on challenge and they faced it. Now, I didn't say they have to win at everything they do, but that fear is something that stops us all in life, whether it's fear of failure or fear, of ridicule or whatever it is. That when I see people putting things out there that these are the things I'm trying and accomplishing, it gives me a good vibe going. This is my kind of peeps because they're not just happy with staying the way that they are. They're wanting to grow and expand, and that's what a good brand does for you. It showcases you in the best light for whatever stage that you are in life.
This is some great knowledge for us. And I want to shift because we're talking about good leaders, but I want to let's shift to that. Let's shift to that next level. Let's shift going from good to great. And my question is, how can a company leader turn employees into brand advocates?
So that's when you know that you have a truly engaged workforce and that you are doing
Absolutely.
everything right.
Yeah.
And that's when I get super excited, is because if you've created that culture that your employees love to come to, that they feel invested in, then what are they going to turn around and do? They're going to be sharing this out to
Yeah.
their friends, to their neighbors, to their church mates, to whatever. They're going to share your company's success for you. Because, the thing is, we all know that people are kind of leery these days of what you read on social media or what's in the news. So if you want news about your company to spread, the best thing you can do is have one of your employees posting about, hey, I had this big win at work this week, or hey, I have an awesome employer. They're sending me to this awesome training so I can get new skills and do XYZ.
Right.
And so who are you going to believe? You're going to be the company that puts this press release out, or you can believe your neighbor that you read their Facebook post and say, hey, that's a great place to work. That's where I want to be too. Because if they treat my friend this way, they're going to treat me this way too.
Mm.
And so when you do that, they become your brand advocates for you. Like it's all about reputation marketing these days. And if your employees are marketing for you, their friends believe what they say about you. So instead of them posting about my supervisor sucks, they never listen to what I say, you've got employees posting about you wouldn't believe this team building that we have going on and that the company is investing in all this training for us to make sure that we have all the tools we need to succeed in life and career. Those are the kind of people that you want talking about you. And you just think about how hard it is to hire and retain people these days. And so if you've got this group of people that are advocating on your behalf, that are real people that people know, people believe they're friends, and it's going to make it so much easier for you to have the workforce coming to you that you want to work for because you already know you have good people, or you wouldn't be training and hiring and putting them there. So if their friends who are mostly like them are going to be coming to saying, hey, I want to work in the same kind of environment because we're the same kind of people. And if they're treating them like this and I have these same kind of skills, I want to be treated that way too. Then that's the ultimate win for me for a company and their leaders because you have created a perpetuating environment that people want to be in and people feel that they're succeeding and thriving.
Wow, Chellie, that is another knowledge bomb. Wow, this is so amazing. I'm thinking and I'm listening to what you're saying into, dealing with personal branding, but I'm also thinking about, some of our, popular brands, like Apple and, just these products. It's like people, I'm an Apple, I have the watch, I have the phone, I have the computer, I have the everything you can think of Apple. I have the AirPods, I have everything. And so I love Apple and I love the product and I talk about it. I mean, I brag about my computer, how it syncs with my iPad, and I can text from my computer. I can text myself a file and it comes to my phone. I mean, I brag about this all the time. And what I've learned, there's people around me, not everyone. They have some hardcore Android people out there
Oh,
that's Android for life. And I respect you. I respect you. I love you too. But here's the here's the thing. I've also known people that had Androids, and I talked and bragged so much about Apple. Now they have Apples, and I'm promoting and I'm branding this product like I'm doing on the podcast right now because I love it. But the things that maybe mediocre, product, I don't tend to talk about it. But if it make a difference in my life, I am talking about it, and everybody know it. And that's the same thing you just said here. Thank you. Thank you. You just crossed those two together so beautifully. Uh-oh, Siri didn't. Okay, Siri.
Siri wants you to say it all again. So talk about Apple some more.
Chellie, what what are some practical leadership growth tips, tools, advice that you can share with the Lead to Greatness community to help us reach our greatest potential?
So first is communication is vital.
Mm,
You've got to learn your people and what ways that they want you to communicate with and how they want to be led. How I lead my millennial may be different than how I lead my baby boomer. And you as the leader have to communicate with them and then adapt to what they need from you.
mm,
The second thing we talked about it a little bit earlier was listen. And I say listen, 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 then respond.
mm,
Because I think a lot of times it's that active listening is that where you hear the first little part of it and then you're already formulating your answer before you really got to what they're trying to get to. And by the time you answered it, you never really gave them an answer about what they were wanting. You were just trying to get on with it. And
mm.
so I think as leaders, it's our responsibility to slow down a little bit sometimes and really listen to our people.
Amazing.
And then, I talked about always growing and always evolving. And so I would say read and or learn, however you want to do that, whether it's magazines, whether it's podcasts like this, whether it's books or whether it's hearing speakers or going to conferences, whatever it is, times change and we have to be able to grow and evolve with those and change what we're doing and learn new technology and learn ways that we can incorporate these things into what we're doing. And then finally, I would say that the other thing that I would really say is a way that you can really grow your leadership is to make people feel that it's safe to fail
Mm, mm,
because we don't learn from winning all the time. We
right.
learn from our failures.
Mm,
And if a person is afraid to work for you because they're afraid that if they fail, there's going to be some retaliation or there's going to be, something held against them and they're never going to be allowed to work on another project, you're never going to see that person grow and become the potential that they have to become.
mm,
You've got to provide that safe place to talk through, okay, what went wrong? What did we learn from this and how do we move forward from it? And how do we make sure we don't do it again? And then what are the pieces that did work so that we can redo those the next time something comes around and just build on that. Now, that's a big ask sometimes for people.
right.
Is that because like we're all counted by our numbers and what our productivity was and that kind of thing. But if you ever get a chance, there's a great WD-40 has what they call learning moments. And I think they're a company that is just that we should all kind of look at and see what they're doing with leadership and that kind of thing. And once a week, they have their team talk about a learning moment, whether it was something that succeeded, what did we learn from the success, or it's something we learn from a failure. And, we learn what not to do and we learn what pieces of it worked. And I think that's just an amazing philosophy to have. And you think about how your team would respond if they knew that, okay, I can try something new, I can try a new skill and it not be held against me if something doesn't go exactly right. You're going to have a team full of people that are volunteering for all kinds of projects and growth and that kind of thing if you create that environment.
Wow. Another knowledge bomb. Chellie, what an amazing interview. You are so amazing and so easy to listen to. And I have loads of questions, but I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, wow, this time has went by so fast, man. You're really easy to talk to. And man, I love your energy. If someone wanted to connect with you and all the amazing things that you are doing, where should they go?
Social media, I'm on all the platforms. LinkedIn, I post a lot on LinkedIn. I have a website, chelliphillips.com. You can find all kinds of stuff there. I have tons of free resources that people can download and use. And, I would love, anybody to connect, say, hey, listen to the podcast. Here's what I thought. I always love feedback so that I know, are these things really resonating with people? And like, or maybe you disagree with me. Tell me you disagree, and we'll have a conversation, and hopefully I can change your mind. But you know, but yeah, that's the easiest place. I'm on all the social media. LinkedIn is where I do a lot of the career stuff and everything. And then of course, the website is the best way to find all the resources and things.
Chellie Phillips, everyone. Wow. Wow. Amazing. On behalf of the Lead to Greatness community, we want to thank you so very much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us all.
Thank you. I have enjoyed being with you tonight so much. And, I look forward to listening to more of your episodes and hearing how this community continues to grow and evolve and become the greatest leaders out there.
And don't forget to subscribe to Lead to Greatness if this is your first time. And if this podcast was helpful to you, leave a big thumbs up. And also, I want you to check out our Marriage Coach podcast, the podcast with my wife and I. If you're on iTunes, please rate this podcast and leave a review and help get the word out. Again, thank you, Lead to Greatness Nation, for joining us on today. Looking forward to seeing you again on next week. Till then, remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace. We out.